But let me take you behind the scenes in the app and show you what Greenlight is all about. Here we are in Greenlight. So first things off the bat, this is what the app looks like. And by the way, I don't have the fully upgraded account. I just have the base account. So I'll explain what that means, as well as share some things that are just kind of not the greatest that you just need to know as we go through today's video. Let's start first with going down here to the family wallet. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can set it up on an auto fund, or you can manually add money as you wish. Now, for me personally, I manually add money. So when I see this Greenlight wallet, which is controlled by my wife and I, if that goes down to a certain level, I'll just come in here, I'll hit this button right here that says add money. It'll say, how much do you want to add? It pulls it out of my bank account. It takes about a day or so, and then you're on your way. But if you just want to make your life easier, you can set up auto funding. You'll see that's right underneath here. And then whether that's every week, every month, every day, you can decide how you want to control this. So once the account reaches a certain limit, or just every single month, you're going to transfer a certain amount in. Everything is customizable based on what works best for you. Now, the purpose behind having the family wallet is that way you can pay out to your kids as they do things, or on an autopilot as you wish. But that's the funding source, is this Greenlight wallet. This is the big deal. So this is the first thing you got to do. Get money into that. Otherwise, your kid or kids or many kids won't get paid as they expect. Now, here's how we have this set up. What we decided to do is we would give our kids, we have 2 kids, we would give them money based on doing things around the house that we identify. And what's really nice and sets this apart from the old fridge thing, from the old, hey, promise me you'll do this and I'll try to find some cash and pay, all that old school stuff, this makes it easy. What you can do is you come in here at the very bottom of the app, you'll see it says chores. I'm going to start there and show you how this works. Now, right now, you're looking at my oldest daughter, but she has currently 27 chores left. That ends in 3 days. Now, I will tell you that my kids kind of do this throughout the week, and then on the last day, we basically say by Saturday night, you should have all your chores for the week done. You can set whatever day you want, but we say Saturday, and what they'll do is they'll go through and say, okay, did I do this? Did I do this? Did I not do this? And then they'll check it off. You can see right now, for example, she needs to keep items off the stairs because that annoys us. The kitchen counter. That's an easy one. But we got to have the bathroom sink tidied. We need to have all dishes off the sink. Typically on Saturdays is where you got to dust, clean, wash, etc. But again, this is all up to you and how you want to control this. You can see right here, it says add chore. Simply go in here. You can create a new chore that's totally up to you. You can use some of the pre-filled options that Greenlight provides you. These are all customizable based on what you want. Now, the reason we do chores is we want to base it on the commissions that I mentioned a little bit earlier. You got to work for money. We're not just going to automatically pay you $10 a week, $100 a week, whatever you can afford to do. We don't just do that automatically. That's your option. There is an option you can do that here in Greenlight, but we make you work for it here in our household. So for example, this one is a daily occurrence. So you can edit any chore you want, and when you set it up initially, it'll ask you how often you want this chore to arrive. It could be a weekly thing, like for example, on Saturdays, we do our big cleaning, so that's one time a week. But this one is an everyday thing. Leave the stuff off the stairs. Very easy, right? At least we would hope so. But if this does not happen, then you decide if you pay them or not. But this is set up daily. If I want to say it's weekly, I can just simply click on weekly. It'll say, how do you want to do this? What day of the week is important? Or is it a monthly chore? Totally up to you. Another thing that you can do beyond the chores that are typically assigned to one or more kids is you can add a chore and do an up for grabs type of chore. So if I tap right here where it says up for grabs, let's say I don't want to mow the lawn this week, because that's dad's job, but I don't want to do it. I'm going to say, mow the lawn. And what's really cool about this is I can just say, here's what you got to do. I can type that in right here, blah, blah, blah. And then I can say, look, you have to do this by, let's say, next Saturday, the 31st of January, for example. And then what I can do is come down here and just say, look, if you do this, I will pay you an additional $50. Oh my gosh. And you can spend it wherever you want. I'll explain these categories in just a minute. But $50, do whatever you want with it. Hit save. And then if I hit save chore in the app, if you have especially more than one kid, they can go in here and say, oh, $50, I'll mow the lawn right now. That's awesome. They can, in their app, select that, get on their way, mow the yard, and be on with it. That's the beauty of it all. Now, I do want to make a quick note. If you don't have phones yet for your kids, or you don't have iPads for your kids, that's okay. You can actually control this all within yourself and just have your kids look over your shoulder. So if you say, hey, everybody, I'm going to do an up for grabs chore, or hey, everybody, here are your weekly chores. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch you and check it off myself, and we'll do this together on my particular device. That is your option. And then once your kids get older, if you decide to get them a device, then they can download the Greenlight app and be on their way and manage it on their own. So that's just one thing that's really cool about this chores. So I'm not going to do that because I'll just make it easier on myself and do the mowing this week. Now, let's go into one of their accounts so I can explain a little bit more about the chores and how it gets paid out. Now, what you're looking at is my oldest child, and right now it says total money of $143. Let me break that down. In fact, if you scroll down here, at any point, a parent can see exactly what is in each one of their kids' wallets. She has $31 that she can spend wherever she wants. And by the way, you get 1% cash back when you do use your Greenlight to purchase. So that's kind of cool. And a lot of times I find that they'll save up money for things that they want at Target, or maybe they want to go to an event or whatever that may be. This gives them that freedom. In fact, my oldest went to a graduation celebration at a theme park. She was able to take her Greenlight card and be able to buy stuff on her own and do things at her will based on what she saved. It wasn't me just throwing cash at her and saying good luck. She was able to manage this and see her account balance go up and down. It makes the power and control on them. And I like the idea that this is doing it now and not when they're 18 and influenced by a bunch of college kids. You know how it can be. Moving on, we have a savings account. Now, how we break up our allowance is we actually break it up by percentage. So a certain amount will go into spending, a certain amount goes into savings, a certain amount into investments, and a certain amount into giving, because we want to teach our kids to give back to those who are less fortunate than they are. So that's how we split it up. Again, totally customizable. You can dump it all into spending. You could dump it all into investing. You have the control to adjust this however you want. The investment account, if you're new to my channel, I'm a big investor. That's what this channel is all about, is building wealth and investing. So invest is a big deal to us. What's nice is it automatically goes in there. Now, if you tap here, the kids have an option. They can buy individual stocks. In fact, you'll find that Greenlight kind of pushes individual stocks, but that's not our jam personally. That's not my jam personally. So what we've kind of taught our kids to do is look into index funds. So what they opted to do is buy the S&P 500. This is VOO. Right now you can see she has a total of $59.42 and up 7.41% so far. What I love doing there is saying, look at this. You put in money and it grew by an additional $4.10. That may not seem like a lot, but look at the percentage, 7.41%. Imagine if you invested more, or imagine over many years you have a bigger balance. Take that bigger balance, multiply it by 7.4%. That's your return. Bigger the account, bigger the return. So it gets them into understanding investments and index funds, especially for us, a lot earlier. Now, I've done a video on the 3-fund portfolio that I personally use. You can check that video out after this one. I'll link it in the description below. You'll notice up here it says cash to invest. What that does is we don't have this on automatic investments. So that means that my oldest has to come in here and say, okay, I need to take this and invest it into S&P 500, or if she wants to do another investment, she can do that as well. But she has been putting it into this one particularly. I could also do it for her. In fact, for the purposes of today's video, I'll do just that. If I tap here on S&P 500, and this is kind of what it would look like for the kids as well, all you have to do is right here at the bottom, buy or sell. You click on buy, you click buy, and then I'm going to say, okay, she has $2.80. So we're going to do a one-time investment, and I'm going to say $2.80. One-time investment, review order. Looks good, place order, and off we go. And there we go. And in fact, her buy order was just executed. So that means that it did, because the market's open right now, it did indeed buy $2.80 at VOO live here on the video. You'll see down here at the bottom it says giving. If you click on that, this gives them the opportunity to give to something that matters to them. So she has a lot of money to give. Someone had to ask her what's going on with that, but you can do animals, arts and culture, whatever they might be interested in. They can go ahead and give that money to that particular thing. They can also search if there's something that they'd like to do. It will take you out of the app, but they can go through and look at a charity navigator to give that money to. Now the big part is allowance. So this is set at $14. Call me cheap if you want, but I'm only giving her $14 a week if she completes all of her chores. This is a big deal, so let me explain it. If I tap on here, it says the following: $14 a week. Here's the percentages split: 60% at spend anywhere, 10% general savings, and 10% giving. She'll get paid on Sunday of this next week, $14, if and only if she completes all 27 more chores to earn that next payment. Now, here's another cool thing about Greenlight. You can play the game, and I'm actually thinking about changing this up for myself. So let me explain what's cool here. You can go through and decide, look, if you don't complete all 27 of those chores or 30 or whatever it may be every week, you're not getting nothing. But you have the power to change it and say, look, if you do 50%, maybe I'll give you 50% of your allowance. Or if you do certain things, maybe they're worth more money than other things. That's the kind of power and control you can have here to really have fun with this. And that way you're not arguing over some cash and trying to figure it out at the old school allowance day, who gets what, blah, blah, blah. That's old school. This gives you that power. And that's what I really like about it. So what I'm thinking of doing is changing both of my kids. What I'm going to do is give them the option to say, look, if you do some of these things, you're going to get half your money. If you do all, you'll get all the money. And then if you do certain allowances, not up for grabs, I'm just talking about certain things. If you do certain things that are above and beyond, you'll get a bonus. And that bonus could be a lot of money. And you can assign it to either spend anywhere. You could assign it to investing. You're the parent. You can do whatever you want. But that is a really cool thing that you can do in the Greenlight app. So going back here, if I wanted to give her a raise, all you got to do is hit the edit button, and then I can say edit allowance details, payment amount. Let's say I want to give her $140 a week or $14,000 a week. Look, if you're giving somebody $14,000 a week, can you adopt me? Anyway, moving on. So you can do it weekly. You could do it monthly, every 2 weeks. You can select the frequency, how often they're going to get paid. You can also take the time to say what their payment date is. You don't have to do Sunday like we do. You could do, look, you're going to get paid on Fridays. You're going to get paid on Mondays, as long as you do whatever that particular goal is for your family. The next thing you can do is adjust the payment allocation anytime you want. This is just something that I opted to set up: 60%, 10, 10, and 20. You can totally change this anytime you want. You can give them more and spend anywhere. You can give zero in a certain category, all up to you. Now, a key question that I often get when it comes down to the investing, it is protected by the SIPC. And yes, if you ever decided not to do Greenlight, or kid grows up and you want to move on, or whatever that may be, you can absolutely do that. You can withdraw all this, or you could just transfer the funds so that way you don't lose the gains. You could transfer that to another brokerage. All of that is totally flexible within Greenlight. The other thing that is really interesting, and this is something my girls taught me, I wasn't actually paying attention to this. At the bottom, you can see it says learn. Now, this is something, going back to that stat that I shared at the beginning of the video, this is something that's super, super cool. They can go through here, and that 51% of parents that don't know how to teach their kids about money, well, here is how you can learn from something that actually appeals to kids, not you just droning on about, investing. Because, my kids don't watch my YouTube videos. Here, they can go through, and in fact, look, they've already been doing it. So somebody went ahead and they learned about inflation, wants versus needs, debit versus credit cards, spending money. This is kind of cool. So this particular kid is on level 2, and they completed 4 lessons. So you can see my other kid is on level 0 with 0 completed lessons, whereas the other one has 4. So this is really a great way for them to go through. There are different topics, from spending to investing to earning to saving, that they can learn, and it makes it fun for the kids. Now the bad stuff, the awful stuff, because I'm not going to do a review video and just say, oh my gosh, it's the greatest thing ever. Even though I've been using it for 2 years, clearly I like it, but there are some things that annoy me about it. First thing here is safety at the bottom. And the only reason this annoys me is not because it doesn't work, it's because it costs more money to upgrade to this. What this does is it gives location sharing and alerts when it comes down to your kids. So if they leave from a certain location, if they are stuck, if they are lost, whatever that may be, this will help you find them. So for some families, this could be critically important. But for me personally, we have, everybody in a family account on our Apple device, and that does it automatically for us. So for me, it doesn't make sense. Now for you, it may, but that's an option. The other bad thing, just to rip the Band-Aid off, is the cost. No matter what, Greenlight is going to cost money. So depending on the plan, you're looking at around $5 to $10 a month. And if you're like, oh my gosh, what? I was the same way, trust me. I didn't want to do it. Now, there are free alternatives out there. So, for example, Capital One, they have a teen account. Cash App is popular, although I don't recommend Cash App for kids. So you might be like, well, why pay then? Why do Greenlight if you can get it for free somewhere else? Well, I view that monthly fee as tuition. For the price of a streaming service, really, I am automating my kids' financial education. And if this app teaches them to avoid just one overdraft fee in college or encourages them to start investing 5 years earlier than their peers, the return on investment on that monthly fee is really infinite. And I wish this was around when I was growing up. We would have saved so much money. Honestly, I would have saved thousands of dollars in stupidity. So for me, that's what really makes it easy. And because it's tailored to them and tailored to their financial education, it really just makes my life so much easier. But let's break down the cost and I'll show you which plan that I'm on currently. Okay, so here we are in the plans. I am currently on Max, which is $10.98 a month. Now you can get the core. Just keep in mind there is a difference. So core, you're going to get 2% back on savings. You can get the debit cards for up to 5 kids. All the chores that I showed you a little bit earlier, all the allowance, the games, the learning that we looked at. There's only a light version of investing for parents. So you can invest for them, but it's very light. It doesn't teach them anything about investing. It doesn't let them invest for real in the actual stock market. So just keep that in mind if you're considering it. The reason I did Max is because I get 3% and plus I get them the ability to invest. That was important for me. And I really recommend, this is what this channel is about. So I'm going to certainly recommend that you start investing. The earlier you start investing, the more money you're going to make and wealth you're going to build in the long term. You also get 1% cash back and you get identity theft, purchase, and phone protection as well, which is a nice add-on for really only about $5 more a month. You can get Infinity. This is going to be the one that gives you a little bit more. So you're going to get that family location sharing that I talked about. You're going to get the SOS alerts and crash detection, especially if you have a young driver. That might be interesting. Hopefully it never has to happen, but it is an option that they offer. And then driving reports and alerts. How fast are they driving? Where are they going? What's going on? That all is provided in the Infinity plan, but that's now an additional $5. Now you're looking at $15.98 a month. That might be something that is super useful. I'll be honest, once my oldest starts driving, I may look at this only because not the family location. Don't care about that. I care about the driving reports. How are you doing out there once you get your driver's license? Do we need to have a talk? Are you going too fast? Things like that. Now, if you want the all-in, here we go with Family Shield. Now we're looking at, it says $19.98 a month. There could be times it's $24.98. And remember, all these prices could change at any moment, especially as this video gets older through time. The difference here is you're going to get an additional financial account monitoring, activity alerts, 100K deceptive transfer fraud, and 1 million of identity theft coverage. That alone could make it worth it if you don't already carry identity theft protection. That's something very important. And so if you don't have that separate, you may actually want to look at the Family Shield just for that alone. Now, if you're interested in Greenlight, you can check out the link in the description below and get started today. Keep building your Sharpe money. Hey, check out this video next, and we'll see you on the next video.